Welcome to your practice today, and I would like you to use your blanket or your pillow and roll it up and place it on the upper third of your mat. And you want it to be as wide as the mat, but not too thick and not too thin. So you're gonna find out in a second why we start today like this. I'll show you. Sometimes it's nice to start the class lying down. So you're gonna take whichever roll you made and place it underneath the shoulder blades. So not like below the shoulder blades, not underneath the shoulder blades, I should say. And then you come to lie here and you rock a little bit down so that you feel your shoulder blades are touching the floor. And it gives you a nice lift of your ribs, but the chest and the shoulders can relax. And then you can either bring the soles of your feet together, or if it's more comfortable, you can straighten the legs and just, bring them as wide as you like. So the idea is to elevate the middle part of your body. Should feel super comfortable. So I'll give you some time to get comfortable on your blankets or mats. And that's why if it's too thick, it'll be too much of a back bend. If it's too thin, you won't feel any lift from it. So take your time, and once you arrive in this position, it should be really comfortable so you can relax. You can close your eyes. Everybody looks beautiful. So close your eyes here and let your arms rest next to your body. Sometimes it's nice cactus arms, if that's okay on your shoulders, or you just straighten your arms, whatever works for you. Good. And then close the eyes and take the next few moments to arrive in your space, in your body. And just feeling the flow of breath, of prana coming in and going out softly, and try to release any effort or any control of it. And the practice of Yin Yoga in general is very much a practice where we learn to give up our wanting to control everything and to rather really be able to flow with what is, which is something, especially this year, I feel it's like we're learning globally more than ever. Because really we have no control of the world outside of us, or very little, I should say. And we do have control, though, over our own body experience and life to the most part. We can make choices, and that's really the freedom we have. And I feel the practice of Yin Yoga is a really sweet reminder of that. So as you lie back with the nice support underneath your shoulders, see if your breath is more in your lower body or if your breath is more in the upper body. If your breath feels restricted in any way, just check in your breath, your prana, your life force, and see where you can soften even more so in your body. So maybe you can even let the eyes fall back even more, where you can soften your jaw. Often we hold tension in places where we least think of it. And today's practice is a practice to support the kidneys. And the kidneys, when the kidney energy is balanced, it stands for wisdom, for faith, for trust. And when the flow in the kidneys is disturbed, it stands for fear, indecision, and overwhelm. The kidneys store a lot of energy, and they send healthy clear water upward to circulate in the body, and then the used water down for elimination. The kidneys are also responsible for the proper function of the blood and the bones. So too much fear weakens the kidneys, and when they work well, we kind of flow through life gracefully. Now, that is a beautiful intention, to flow through life gracefully. And of course, some days we're bad at it, and some days we completely fail, and there's no grace at all. But that is okay. What is important is really the flow. And you can think of kidneys, it's also the energy of water just flowing through steam, through a river, and there's rocks and all kinds of things in the river, but water just flows around it. So ideally, we use all these practices to bring our energy into this flow. And yes, there will be obstacles on the way. There will be days that we feel less open, less trusting, less positive, and that's okay. So Yin Yoga practice is also a practice of acceptance, and not in a way of we just accept whatever happened and we let everybody walk right over us. Acceptance in a sense of like understanding there are certain things you have no control over. So keep breathing. We'll stay maybe 2 more minutes here. And as with every pose, use your breath to take you deeper. Find your edge where you feel a little point of resistance, and then see if you can give in a little bit more, or if you need to pull back a little bit more, because you never want to have any sharp pain. So this is your journey today, and every time you come to Yin, creating that balance. And it's also a practice of moving into stillness. So I'll talk a little bit more at the beginning, but then I will talk less and less, because I also really want you to experience emptiness, stillness, and also maybe you struggle with stillness. If you are a very busy, very active person, this might be a really challenging practice for you. So I hope you're up for the challenge. If you are somebody who loves to chill out, you'll be super happy in your Yin practice, and there won't be much challenge. So just see where you're at. So stillness also is giving us a possibility of awakening if we manage to go beyond fear. So see what's your relationship to stillness, being still. Everybody looks quite still and comfortable. That's nice. Last 30 seconds here. Good. All right. Now to come out of the pose, first take another big breath. And then start to bend your knees and walk your feet a little bit closer, and then just roll over to the side and come all the way up to seated. You can now remove the mat or the blanket and just sit nice and tall with both legs open. and have some of your other props. Maybe you want to have blocks or a pillow or something to sit on. And then just wiggle your legs a little bit side to side. Should feel really nice. And we're gonna come into the next pose, which is straddle pose. So legs fall out to the side. Remember, we're not engaging any muscles. And now you're gonna just walk your hands forward. Maybe you come onto your elbows. Maybe that is too much. You could place a block underneath. You could also use two blocks. Place your forehead onto the blocks and your arms onto the legs. Or a way I like to do it sometimes, you place your head into your hands. Either way, you take your time to find your pose and then you close your eyes. And then again, it's time to sink a little deeper. Straddle pose, everything completely soft. When you fold forward, it's nice. Your back is nice and round, and you can really breathe into your lower back, into your kidneys. The meridian that we also feel here, nourish here, is the liver meridian that goes along the inside of your thighs. Breathe here, eyes closed, and we're gonna stay 5 minutes. So you have another like 4.5 minutes or so. Let the breath take you deeper. So we practice yin for awareness, a deeper awareness. And awareness means really of what's going on in the mind instead of just identifying with the mind. So the difference is when you are aware, you recognize that you're thinking all your thoughts. And you also recognize when you are fearful, when you're unhappy. And often we project fear out into the future. So we're fearful for ourselves and for others. We think about all the things could happen. And I better think about that now. There's a way we sometimes catastrophize. I'm really good at it. It's like even when I'm sometimes going on a hike and I get scared of like height, I'm like, I literally see myself slipping and tripping and falling down the mountain. So, the mind plays all kinds of tricks, and, fear is a really, really strong sensation. So, recognizing your fears, recognizing that you are thinking your thoughts, and with that power of presence, you can overcome any problem when it's the time. Because then you realize that right now you're just making a projection and you're suffering because of that projection. A little bit more than a minute to go. Keep breathing, listening, observing. And remember, there's always 3 levels: observing the physical body, observing the mental body, observing the emotional body, what's present. Last 30 seconds. And then take your last 3 breaths, wherever you are. With your third breath, very, very slowly, come all the way up. Place your hands behind and just take a moment here, maybe wiggling your legs, your feet. Good. All right. Now bring your right foot inside your left thigh. Turn a little bit over to your left leg and come forward now into the next pose, which is half straddle, half butterfly. I recommend to have a block underneath your head to support the neck and to just let the arms hang. If you have a bunch of props, you could also have your arms rest on a prop, whichever one works best. You could fold deeper, you could be higher here. So find what works for you. I'll set the timer and we do 3 minutes on each leg. So for now, folding forward over the left leg. Feel the rhythm of your breath. Where can you soften more? Are you holding maybe your shoulder, your jaw? Are your eyes closed? Can you sink deeper? So the mind is always thinking. That's just what it does. And the thinking happens to you. And if you are not aware of that, you're always at the mercy of your own thoughts. They will always have control over you. Once you are aware of that, this is the way it works, you can take control and work with it. And now there are many ways to work with the mind. One is to use techniques like meditation or chanting mantras or doing a Yin Yoga practice, and to kind of direct the mind into what you want it to do. Another way is also to just observe it and to become simply aware and just sit there as if you're looking a movie, watching a movie, just watch your thoughts, your stories, and everything float by. And realizing you're not really helping yourself by projecting bad things that could happen. When you realize that, it gives you freedom. Last 3 breaths here on the left leg. And then slowly Come all the way up and open both legs, shake them out and switch. Bring your left foot inside the right leg. Now you're going to turn your body over to the right leg and see, maybe you need something completely different here. You could also place a pillow. Oops, doesn't really work like that. Be creative. Just see, oh, maybe this is a really nice way I can rest my chest onto a bunch of pillows or blocks. And then you feel also again this nice opening here in your back and the area around your kidneys. Breathe deeply, enjoy. And observing your mind. And so if you ever have fearful thoughts, you probably have noticed that like trying to fight them with willpower is not working. It just makes them stronger. So the best way to create a shift is to recognize, and especially also to recognize how destructive that behavior of your thoughts is and the unhappiness that gets produced. Then you can have a choice to either continue like that, just being dragged along from your thoughts, or to shift your attention to something else. Good, last minute here. Keep breathing. Maybe you catch yourself with your mind floating away, floating around. Bring it back to some sensations of the pose, your breath, area of your kidneys. All this part feels very tight in my body. So make sure you drink lots of water. Good, last couple of breaths. And then inhale, slowly find your way back up. And open those legs, shake them out. Good. Bring your hands now behind your knees and bring your feet back and see if you can come into a squat. And if you need to have a block on the knees, it's totally fine. So if squat is not happening today, place a block here like this. And what I want you to do is just walk your fingertips forward. This is just a transitioning pose. So I want you to be able to let the head go, breathe into the back. Good. And then walk your hands back. Place your fingertips in front and come up into standing. And actually, next we're going to come into dangling. So your feet are about hip distance apart. Oops. And there's a couple of options because you want to make sure that it doesn't go into your lower back or doesn't cause any tension. So the full pose would be really hanging here with your chest, resting onto your thighs, and you let everything hang, and you can bounce a little bit back and forth. You could also take a hold of your elbows and breathe. If this feels okay and there's no throbbing in your head, you can come into the full pose. If that feels too much, just bring your elbows onto your knees and stay here. This is a little softer version of dangling. You can still let your head go, but you're resting with the elbows on the knees. Either way, knees are bent, so go for it, dangling. And we'll do this for about 3 minutes. It's again a chance to breathe into the back body. Fill it up. It's also a beautiful pose to really become aware of your spine, the biggest energy channel in your body, all the vertebrae, and how, like, when you're breathing, you're filling up that space in your back. You're nourishing the spine. Eyes closed. Let your breath flow in and flow out. Always bring your awareness back to your breath, back to the sensations in your body. 1 more minute to go here. Breathing deeply. Great. 30 more seconds. Find your biggest breath here. Letting go, breathing deeply. Hope you can hear the birds. Good. From here now, release your fingertips to the floor and start to walk your feet back into like a downward facing dog, and then take a few moments here to stretch out your legs. Bend one knee, press the other heel down, lengthen. Good, and then drop your knees to the floor and give yourself a little moment here in child's pose. Just resting. And then slowly come all the way back up to your hands and knees, and we'll do a couple of cat-cow as you inhale, dropping the belly, looking up. As you exhale, drawing the belly in, rounding the spine. Inhaling, arching the back, and exhaling, rounding the spine. And last time, inhaling, arching the back, And exhaling, rounding the spine. Now come forward onto your belly. And we're coming into the next pose, which is Sphinx pose. So you want to make sure your legs, everything is completely relaxed. You can wiggle your hips a little bit. If you like to have a bolster or something underneath, it can feel really nice to have that kind of to rest your ribs on. Whatever feels good. See if you can have your elbows underneath the shoulders. Look straight ahead and then let the heart melt here. If this is too intense, you can always make it softer by bringing your elbows a little bit more forward. Keep your head lifted or place it onto a block. Make sure that you not just let it hang, because if your head is hanging, that means you can cause easily some tension in your neck. Breathing here. I'll start the timer and we'll do 3 more minutes here. Eyes closed, breathing deeply. Face is soft. Good. Sensation here can be felt along the front body. This is stomach and spleen meridian. And a mild compression in the lower back. This is what you want. Don't make it too strong. And as I said, the best way to get out of fear is to bring your mind's attention to your body. So, for example, here, feel into your hands. Feel how your hands are touching the mat and the floor. What does it feel like? Maybe feel if you're outside, feel the wind touching your skin, and how does that feel? How does the taste in your mouth feel? So if you go to your senses, it's always really helpful to get you out of the head, especially when it's spinning in circles. So with these practices like Yin Yoga, we can train our body to have tools to fall back to when life is really challenging us. You could also just focus on feeling aliveness of your body, like maybe a sense of energy rushing through you. And then take a nice big, big breath in. And then as you exhale, slowly release and just come to lie on your belly. And just wiggle your hips. And we're going to come into a nice, easy Sphinx pose to release. So bringing the left knee in line with the left hip. You see, you don't want to bring it higher than the hip. You want to bring it in line with the hip, and then the ankle in line with the knee. And then you turn your head to the left and you're resting on your right ear and you're just breathing here. Face is soft. Close the eyes. It's a 2-minute transition pose, Spider-Man. Breathing here. Really let the groin sink to the floor. It's such a lovely pose. I love Spider-Man. It feels so calming. Keep breathing. And again, as you keep breathing, watch your thoughts. Where do they go? Are you dwelling in the past? Are you a planner? Are you catastrophizing? What's your tendency? What's your color? About 30 more seconds here. So deep, 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 deep breathing. Very good. And then slowly release and straighten your left leg to the floor. Just wiggle your hips. And we're coming back into either Sphinx Pose. So if this felt good, go for it again. Or seal. This is a little more intense, straightening the arms and really making sure that you're not engaging your buttocks. Mild compression in the lower back. Breathing here, face soft. Seal pose if it's too much. Coming back into Sphinx pose. All right, 2 minutes here. Breathe into the sensation in your lower back. At the same time, try to soften your belly. Notice where in your body you tend to hold, soften, breathe. Almost there. 15 more seconds. Can you smile? Sphinx or seal pose. And then take your last big breath. On the exhale, slowly come back down onto your belly. Resist the urge of moving your hips right away and just keep your your head resting on your hands. Take a couple of really nice deep breaths into the lower back. And then when you feel ready, come into Spider-Man, half Spider-Man on the other side. So you want to bring the right knee up in line with the hip and the right ankle in line with the knee. And turn your head towards the right knee, rest on the left ear, and just completely surrender into Spider-Man. Feel your right groin sinking towards the floor. Breathe deeply. Such a sweet pose. One more minute here. Last 30 seconds. Good. And then take another big breath in. And as you exhale, straighten the right leg. So you're back on your belly. Wiggle your hips, shake them out. And then just flip around and come to lie on your back. Hugging the knees into your chest. Rocking a little bit back and forth, massaging your lower back, your back. And then taking your hands on top of the knees, making circles, moving the knees away from each other. Moving the knees towards each other. And then taking the arms out to the side. Inhale as you exhale, let your knees fall over to the right, and let's come into the reclined twist. Those of you wanting to go deeper could bring the right leg over the left, and then maybe place a block or something underneath so that your legs can rest, and find the perfect position for your left arm. Like for me, it would be to take it over my head, looking over the left shoulder and breathing deeply into the left side body. If you don't want to bring the knees together, if you don't want to wrap your legs, you can bring the knees together, and then it might feel nice also to just have a blanket or pillows in between. So again, explore what's serving you best and enjoy the twist. Keeping your face soft. Notice how maybe at this time it's easier for you to move into stillness. The key, feeling sensations instead of thinking. You can always feel fresh and new energy in your body. You can focus on the aliveness in your hands, in your feet, maybe a tingling in your chest. Breathing deeply. So again, accept what you feel, and that's the way to go deeper. Stress is in our minds and it's fed by imagination, projecting, and we need to catch ourselves that moment and break from thinking by feeling the body. This is the key. That's why we talk about becoming the observer. And this process is not always the most comfortable process or the easiest process, but it's doable and it gets easier over time. It's like when you start to sit meditate, it's probably the hardest. And then you establish a practice and it gets easier. And there will be still days where you feel like you've never meditated before and your mind is so distracted that it's really hard. But you can pull yourself easier back than if you are just starting. So this is the same with Yin Yoga, with any practice that gets you into stillness. Notice what's the discomfort, notice the stories, always go back. Accept that your mind is busy, accept that your body feels tight, accept the story in your head. And from that acceptance comes letting go. Last 30 seconds. Big, big breath. Good. Slowly now release by bringing your legs back over to the middle. If you had a prop in between or if you had them wrapped, release the prop and just keep your legs swinging a little bit like windshield wipers. You never want to go right away into the other side because first you want to neutralize and or feel the release of the pose. So you can also just first come back and just feel before you start doing your windshield wipers. Now, when you are ready for the other side, you're gonna bring either the knees together over to the left using whatever you need, a pillow, a block underneath, in between, or you can wrap your right leg over your left. If you do the wrapping version, you want to bring your hip 1 inch over to the right so that there's a little less tension on the spine. And then again, you could have a prop underneath your knees on the left side, and you turn your head either to look up or to look to the right and enjoy the twist to the other side. breathing, softening, feeling the sensations. The kidney meridian is paired with the urinary bladder meridian, and that one runs um, along the back of the legs and then in two lines on each side of the spine. So when we do twists, it's also really nice for the urinary bladder meridian. So feel the stretch, breathe some energy, some prana into the spine, all these lines. And we have 2 more minutes here. So again, the thinking happens to you, and if you are not aware of all those patterns and mechanisms, you are just at the mercy of your thoughts. You will always just respond and react on your thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, there's a moment that you can step back and pause. And in that pause is the possibility or the opportunity to change and shift, to respond different. And that is the same when somebody or something really triggers you. Usually, when we are triggered, we're right away responding, reacting. So, with this practice, we're learning, we're cultivating this moment, this pause of stillness, of stepping back, of observing, of whoops, I'm catching myself, I'm about to just go for it, and I choose maybe to respond different. So a good practice also is, for example, if you receive an email from somebody that's really pushing your buttons, usually we're like right away sitting at the computer, writing back, and notice how different your response is when you just don't respond the same time, the same day, even maybe next morning, sit down, read it again. The first emotional response is gone, and then see how you respond instead. And there's going to be for sure less ego and more heart, probably less mind, less story. And it's the same thing. Becoming aware is helping us to shift and react different. Last big breath here on this side. And then you can bring your knees back up to the middle. Release any props you have. And then just lift the legs up and shake them out. That always feels good. Shaking out is super nice. Good. Let's do a little happy baby pose here. So you bend both knees, take your arms inside, grab the outside of the feet, and then pull the knees down and just rock a little bit side to side. Good. Now for one of the last poses, I would actually love for you to go against the wall if you have space at the wall and to simply do legs up the wall. It's really nice to have the bolster underneath your buttocks, and then you just go as close as you can to the wall and let your legs rest up. So actually, I didn't show it correctly. So the best way to do it is to go sit next to the wall sideways and then swing your legs up, maybe lift your hips up and rest. Now, if you don't have space at the wall, you can also just do it by placing a block or the blanket underneath and reaching your legs up. Totally fine. It's the same pose. The wall is just nice because you can really, really relax any form of holding. If the legs are just up here, there's always a little bit of engagement. So this is really nice because you're just releasing. Let gravity do the job. Breathing deeply. Very nice, you guys. Arms can be resting on the belly. That's a beautiful idea. Or they can just lie next to your body, whatever feels best, so that you can really just feel the shoulders relaxed. And then find your deepest breath into the belly, all the way up into the heart, creating space. Beautiful, you guys. We'll be here for about 2 more minutes. Really sinking into the floor. The last 50 seconds or so. At any time, exhale through the mouth. That is also a really good way to release tension. And then very slowly to come out of the pose, first bend the knees and just stay for a moment with the knees bent against, your body, your chest. Feel the release in the back of your legs. Very good. And then roll over onto your left side. That's your yin side. Just stay there for a moment, just resting in like this little embryo pose. Good. And then from here, when you feel ready, come all the way back up into a seat. And we'll finish with a forward fold as well. So forward folds are just so nice because they're really like totally turning inward to yourself, Very relaxing, very soothing, really good to breathe into the spine. And if you like, if you know that your hamstrings are a little tight, you can use again this sweet bolster you made and place it underneath your knees. So then you don't need to straighten your legs, and that might feel really nice. And you can have a pillow if you like. And after this one, we're going to come into Shavasana. So if you know that you need a blanket or a sweater or something for Shavasana, I have it already somewhere nearby. And the feet can be, as wide as your mat or a little closer, depending what feels good. And then you have your blocks or your props and slowly start to fold forward. So I like to place my head onto a block. Could also be, higher. It could be 2 blocks. Anything that supports you so that you can let your shoulders relax, face is soft. And I always recommend in the forward fold, this is called caterpillar, I always recommend the humming breath. There's just something really soothing being in a forward fold with the humming breath, and it's basically inhaling and exhaling, making the sound of a bee, like and of course that's optional. If you don't like to do that, then don't worry about it. But really feel, if you do it, feel the vibration in your chest and think of it as helping to clear your throat chakra. And your throat chakra is your ability to communicate clearly and to communicate your needs. And so that for sure comes in handy to clear that area, to nourish it. And I love the Yin Yoga for the kindness it teaches us towards ourselves, because so often we beat ourselves up for our minds and the tricks we play and the stories we tell ourselves. And it's just this really vicious circle. We beat ourselves up, and that is not a positive thought either. And it just keeps going and going, and we keep spiraling. And really doing these practices helps also to shift consciously our attention from like destructive thoughts to maybe something more positive or beautiful, like, wow, there's aliveness in my body, this tingling in my hands, this pulsation in my chest, or whatever it is you feel, this beautiful wind touching my skin, the sound of the birds, just taking you out of this spiral, ideally. Sometimes more, sometimes less. About 1 more minute to go. Last 30 seconds. Now from here, keeping the roll underneath your knees if there is one, slowly come back up and right away come all the way back onto your back to lie in Shavasana and do whatever you need to do. Roll your head from side to side or keep the bolster underneath your legs or put a blanket on top of you. You know, be really sweet with yourself, make it super cozy. And then give yourself permission to fully relax and rest. And as you lie back, just let your body fully absorb the practice. It's not easy to rest. We struggle with stillness. We need it so much. So maybe you even had a long day and you're just catching yourself how you're really drifting off. That's perfect. So just letting go, breathing, Shavasana. And then very slowly begin to deepen your breathing. Your awareness back into your fingers, into your toes, wiggle them a little bit. And then start bending your knees and ever so softly bring them to your chest. Hug them in. Maybe stretch the arms over your head to anything that feels good on your body. And then once again, roll over onto your left side, your yin side. Stay here for a couple of moments. And then find your way back up into a nice, comfortable seat. Keeping the eyes closed. Take a moment here to feel the energy in your body. Notice what may have changed physically, mentally, emotionally. And then inhale, imagine you're breathing through the left nostril in, and you feel and you watch the breath going in through the left, out to the right. And then again, in through the left, out to the right. Couple times, breathing in through the left, out through the right. The left is your Luna, your feminine, your yin side, and the right is your solar, your active masculine side. And so when you breathe in through the left and out through the right again and again, it's very calming, very soothing. So that's a beautiful breath you can also do, for example, before you're going to sleep. And I want to read you Donna Falls again. I've read this before, but I always come back to it. It's so beautiful. Just for now, without asking how, let yourself sink into stillness. Just for now, lay down the weight you so patiently bear upon your shoulders. Feel the earth receive you, and the infinite expanse of the sky grow even wider as your awareness reaches up to meet it. Just for now, allow a wave of breath to enliven your experience. Breathe out whatever blocks you from the truth. Just for now, be boundless, free, with awakened energy tingling in your hands and feet. Drink in the possibility of being who and what you really are. So fully alive that the world looks different, newly born, and vibrant, just for now. Just take your hands together in front of the heart. I will close our practice with a sense of gratitude and one last sound of all nice big breath. Thank you so much for joining me today. May this practice benefit you greatly and everybody else who's coming in touch with you as well. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.